Welcome to Film Strip. These podcasts are spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Kurt.
And this is our review of Anaconda, starring Jennifer Lopez, a.k.a. J-Lo, Ice Cube, a.k.a. Are We There Yet?, Jon Voight, Owen Wilson, a.k.a. I Don't Want to Live, Kari Wuhrer, and Eric Stoltz, a.k.a. I Was in Back to the Future for 5 minutes. And this is directed by Louis Laosa, I guess, and released in 1997 on a budget of $45 million and it grossed $136 million and spawned 3 sequels, one with David Hasselhoff.
that condemns this movie forever.
Yeah, I think we know what we're doing next now. I think that'd be really good. I got to find a German guy, though. We got to get a German guy in here to do this because he's going to just love the movie. What I want to do is just review movies that are just bad. They're just so bad they could actually make you go insane if you had to watch them back to back. So that's kind of the whole motto of this show. So, like, if Kurt and I and Jay or whoever was doing like The Dark Knight, it would just honestly just be a circle jerk of just like how much everybody loves the movie. And to me, that's just boring. It's like it's fun to interject a little bit of humor into these and funny to like kind of rip on these movies and do like on the spot rewrites and just rip on them. And that's kind of like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 type thing. Just instead of doing commentary during the movie, we're just going to kind of just bash it as we go along and just have fun with it. It's a less serious take on it.
Now, I get you want to review really bad movies, Nick, but why Anaconda? Did you start with A?
I did start with A. I was going through a bunch of movies that were so great that they were so bad that they were so great that they were so bad. It goes back and forth. So I decided to pick Anaconda. I figured, it's kind of got like a double A thing going on there because it's Anaconda and Jennifer Lopez's giant ass. So,
which is bigger, the Jenny from the Blocks Bootang or the mouth of that stock puppet Anaconda?
It's a coin toss. It is a coin toss there. I don't know. They're both pretty wide and they both have a lot of stuff coming out of it. So.
If only Ice Cube's son could have made an appearance in this film as well, but oh well. So
straight out of Jennifer Lopez's ass.
That was the third act for sure, but we'll get there.
Anyway, so I'm just gonna give a plot summary now. So Terry Flores is a documentary filmmaker on assignment to direct a feature on a group of natives in the Amazon known as the People of the Mist. As Terry and her crew, cameraman Danny, sound guy Gary, anthropologist Steve, production manager Denise, and voice talent Warren head down the river, they discover a man whose boat has sunk and desperately needs rescue. The man, Paul Serrano, played by Jon Voight.
Academy Award winner, Jon Voight, I want to say.
Yeah, the Baron driving Jon Voight. This man, played by Jon Voight, claims to know something about the tribe and says he'll take the crew to them. Instead, he guides the group to the hiding place of the fearsome Anaconda, a gigantic snake that can swallow a man whole. A snake is worth a fortune if captured, he explains, but Terry, Steve, and Danny are convinced. After Steve is injured, the crew are pursued and taken out one by one by the giant snake. Sounds like my honeymoon. Cerrone uses Terry and Danny as bait for the creature, but they turn the tables on him and the snake eats Cerrone. Danny and Terry eventually kill the creature, and along with a recovered Steve, they discover the mysterious tribe, and I think are eaten by the end. I think that's like one of the alternate endings is that they find this tribe and then they just kill them. So, anyways, that is Anaconda. And
okay, I got a question right out of the gate.
Can I get a little background on this? Yeah, go for it.
Can I just ask something real quick? Because I don't know, I'm skipping way ahead to the end, but I just got to ask you guys this right now. Is there more than one snake that's chasing these people in this movie? Because it would appear that there is. But I want to know, we'll get to it, I know, in detail later, but I just want to know, what do you think? Is there more than one Anaconda, or is it just one Anaconda?
I think it's just the one. I think if you made this movie today, I mean, you have some more snakes. Because that was one thing that came to mind was the snake. It's not that big, like compared to just like other movie monsters and stuff, I just realized like it's not that big. Like it wouldn't cause that much of a problem in my opinion. Looking at it, it's like as far as movie monsters go, it's just flat out not that scary or intimidating compared to say how big the shark is in Jaws or say King Kong or what have you. Like it's really just a normal anaconda snake, which has some very bizarre athletic ability.
Yeah, it's on crack.
At times it has like athletic ability. It's when it's CGI it has athletic ability. When it's going to like a practical, he just kind of like wavers back and forth.
It's an animatronic.
It's like if you go to like Universal Studios, like way back in like the 90s, like you go on like one of the rides, like that's like something that would be there. It'd be like, oh, here it is poking out at you, and it goes back and forth and then goes away.
Actually, I think they hired the people from the Universal rides in the 90s to run the animatronics in this thing.
That's the level of production values that go into this movie.
Guys, they spent $45 million on this movie.
Man.
And it made 136. And I am sad to say I am at least $7 of that because I saw this fucking thing in theaters when it opened. Drugged my girlfriend in college to it. And
did you say drugged or dragged? Because you could go with either or right there.
I remember distinctly the look of scorn I got from her throughout the entire production of this, and only to be topped by sometime later when this came on television, and my dad, who likes John Voight for a lot of his 60s and 70s work, said, "Ooh, I think I want to watch this." And then when they get to a certain point in the film, said, "Oh, this is bullshit," and that was it. And so, yeah, I am sad to say that I've done this, but I actually own this film on VHS, and that's what I watched for this review. I went and dug the tape up.
Wow, you still got a working VCR?
I'm me and the guys from Red Letter Media, like the only ones, and the woman from 40-Year-Old Virgin apparently. But yeah, so
at least she got a combo player.
I had the combo player. Yeah, that's me. So.
Well, you're the guy that they save like those two at Target for.
Exactly.
Somebody's gonna buy these one day. We're not taking them off the shelf.
There's the J bin.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they also have a stockpile of very bad horror movies that I apparently am the only one that buys. But
well, my memory of this movie starts would have been around probably January '97. Saw it in the trailer for some other movie, and in '97, the '90s was a odd decade for horror movies. They were making a lot of them, probably, and they all had the similar kind of quality. Like there weren't really too many great horror films in the 90s. They were kind of most of them were on par with something like Anaconda. And this is a movie that's like I saw a lot of TV spots for, and that's the kind of movie this is. This is the movie that you just see a TV spot for, and clearly TV spots of just pictures of Jennifer Lopez, Carrie Werr, and a snake was enough that this movie was not just a hit, like a very, very big hit, $136 million and a $45 million budget. I mean, budgets, they just don't make sense to me sometimes. I'm like, this movie cost $45 million and has some of the shittiest effects I've ever seen. And a movie like District 9, which has some of the best effects I've ever seen, cost $30 million. And so I just don't know where the money goes in a movie like Anaconda. Clearly, John Voight got a massive chunk of that because, man, I watched his performance in this movie. John Voight, anyone who has not seen the films Midnight Cowboy, Catch-22, Deliverance, and Coming Home, which he won an Academy Award for, deservedly so. It's an amazing performance. He is on par with the great 70s actors, like the 70s actors in their prime, De Niro, Pacino, Christopher Walken, and so on. And he's an amazing actor. And he just reached that point. He became almost like a Michael Caine, saying yes to everything, hoping one of these movies is good. He's in like Mission Impossible. He's in this. And it's clearly he took the job because it's a nice vacation away down in South America, I guess. Must have been a good golf course somewhere near there. And he just gets to hang around and scowl for the entire movie. I just hope he had fun, as much fun as it looks.
Kurt, the thing about his performance that has just never left me, and I can remember sitting in the theater watching John Voight come on the screen, is that accent. Where's he supposed to be from? He sounds like he's Cajun, but he's supposed to be South American, Nick. What did he say he's from?
I don't know. Where did he say he was from, Kurt? You mentioned it before.
he says
Uruguay or something.
it's one line. He only says it once because the audience, the filmmaker doesn't want the audience to think about it too much. So yeah, from Paraguay anyway. And yeah, he's supposed to be from Paraguay, and it just struck at me as wrong. I mean, I'm looking up. Can't remember where John Voight is from. Yeah, he's from Yonkers, New York. And the last thing he resembles is a South American. He doesn't even have any kind of he doesn't even have a tan.
I was gonna say he's a blonde, like he's like Mr. Aryan poster boy. Is what I always remember him from in the '70s. That's what he looked like. At least he's older now and he's a little more grizzled and stuff. But sheesh, I mean, it's like they put him in a tanning bed for 2 weeks, gave him I don't know if that's like a bad extension or something with that ponytail bit, and told him just kind of look like you just had a really painful crap. And took you to say your mother, do it like a Brando, but if he was high and from South America and you hunt snakes.
I think they just gave him a copy of Scarface and just said, just watch this every morning.
Yes, that was it. It is the Scarface accent. You're right.
Literally, look at Al Pacino in any scene in Scarface, the way his jaw kind of juts forward, and look at John Voight in this. I guess that's the key to doing an accent south of the border, is just to jut your jaw out and scowl, and I guess you're supposed to sound South American. But man, he's pretty rough.
Yeah, he's bad. But you know what, though? Look at the cast, y'all. Like, seriously, okay? I mean, Jennifer Lopez at the time was a big up-and-comer, okay? Yeah. Ice Cube, NWA, one of the coolest rappers of all time, Mr. Coolest, before he started doing all that family stuff. I mean, he was in, Boys in the Hood, and he was a hardcore.
Three Kings.
Yes, exactly. I mean, this is when he was really taking off as an actor. Owen Wilson was, like, new at this point. Kari Wurr was, the holdover from the 80s and stuff. Nick, you remember her. We saw one of her Hellraiser moments a while back. And then, Eric Stoltz, the guy that was in Back to the Future for 5 minutes. So, and I mean...
he was in the movie with the head thing, right? Where he was, like, deformed.
He was in Mask. Yes, with Cher. Yes, and Sam Elliott. So, a much better performance, I might add. So,
and of course... no, go ahead.
I was going to say, but I mean, you look at that and you're like, okay, there's not like, I mean, John Voight's a huge star, but you've got like young up and comers. This is an exciting cast to put in this movie. And not to mention, it's written by two of the guys that wrote freaking Top Gun, one of the greatest action movies of the 80s. So I mean, on paper, it looks like, wow, this is amazing. But in theaters, it so is not.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely the thing, is on paper, this movie looks fun. Another credit that really stands out for me is the director of photography is Bill Butler, who is still with us. He's 93 years old school cinematographer, part of that new Hollywood generation. He shot the Rocky sequels, The Conversation, nominated for an Oscar for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he shot Jaws. So this is a master cinematographer, and they brought him on to make another movie about a monster and a bunch of guys on a boat, thinking that that's all you need is just, we got the boat,
in which one of the old grizzled people on the boat fishes the monster out of the river with a dead monkey. At that moment, did he sit back and just go, oh God, this is the bastardization of everything I've ever worked for? Because that is one of the worst. That is the part where my father said bullshit and walked away. Like that moment in the film. So.
I don't know, the bit
where... was it when he was hunting with it, or when the snake spit it out at the guy?
When the snake... well, when he came up out of the water with it, he was like, oh, that's bullshit. And then when he spit it at him, he was like, I'm done. So he walked away.
See, the thing with this movie is, me and Jay, we did Tremors, and the thing is, when they made Tremors, they knew the type of movie they were making.
Yeah.
They were making 70s style, giant monster movie, but they were going to have fun with it. And everybody on the cast was having fun with it. This, I really think everybody minus Voight was thinking they were making a serious movie.
Oh, I will take that. I think Ice Cube knew he was making a piece of shit, and he just decided, I'm just going to be hard like I've been in all my videos. Because that is exactly what he plays it like. No, I don't disagree with you, though. I think everybody else thought they were making this, serious. Like, the drama that J-Lo tries to lay out, that she would be into a dude like Eric Stoltz, it's some of the worst acting in the film.
When you see Eric Stoltz for the first time, you're thinking, like, he's got to be the bad guy.
Right.
It's like, you don't have a guy with red hair and have him not be the bad guy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The ginger is the bad guy in every movie.
Yeah,
they don't have souls.
But he's
so
like
it's got to be the bad guy.
But he's like barely in it. He's in the beginning of it and he's in the very end of it, basically, because he gets taken out by, I guess, Cerrone like sticks some kind of bug down his snorkel and he chokes on it and he has to give him a tracheotomy on the boat. Which, by the way, on that boat, on that deck, there's some infection setting in. That man's gonna die. That would not.
Why did he do that to him, anyways? Like, what was the reasoning behind it? Like, because he was the leader and he wanted to like kind of like take over control. Was that why?
I think this guy Cerrone, I don't think Cerrone realized how bunch of pushovers this crew of the ship is anyway. He didn't have to go that far. He could have just take the gun right out of Eric Stoltz's hand and taken over the crew that way. Because sticking a poisonous wasp into a scuba tank in such a way, that is one of the most elaborate assassinations in movie history. That beats the elaborate nature of Murder on the Orient Express. Or what have you? Like,
well, that's like right up there with the Manchurian Candidate almost. I mean, it's there are easier ways to kill somebody in the Amazon. Even he says it.
Maybe just like sabotage the tank.
Like, what does he say to this river kill you 1,000 ways? And I'm like, well, yeah, and you just came up with the one way that obviously is not by the river. So I mean, that's the thing to me is that it takes everybody else 45 minutes to realize you did that to Kale, and I was like, y'all didn't realize that immediately. So that's the reason he took over this crew. They're all incredibly dumb, or they're high, and I'm not too certain that Owen Wilson wasn't either actually really high or playing his character as if he was high the entire time.
He was high. He definitely was when he was making this movie.
I think he and Ice Cube were rolling some blunts and just going along with the flow.
Probably, but that's the thing. It's like you get this movie, and imagine like watching Tremors. If like the first guy that we see like get injured or get killed was done by like a pack of coyotes, you're like, I'm not here to see that.
Yeah,
I'm here to see the goddamn Trimmer. You're here to see the Anaconda, and they're having this guy get taken out with a bee. For him surviving the movie in the end, it actually has no bearing on the plot whatsoever. So again, why not just kill him right away?
Yeah, he shows up at one time to help knock Cerrone out, and then like falls down again, and then he's awake at the end after Ice Cube and J-Lo have killed what I will argue is actually multiple snakes. We'll get there, but where they've killed snake number 2. But anyway, so I don't know why he's there either. I mean, again, unless he's supposed to be the expert. Do you know what his job is, guys? He's an anthropologist. He's supposed to be freaking Indiana Jones, and he gets taken out in this movie so fast.
He's got the khaki vest. He should be pretty nifty in the jungle, but he's taken out very easily. And I can't believe this guy is some kind of Superman. How he survives the tracheotomy and survives John Voight shoving his thumb into the tracheotomy again, and blood is gushing out once more, reopening the wound. And I don't know how he survives and some of these other characters die. It's just. Eric Stoltz's role.
How does he not get an infection in his neck? I mean,
yeah.
I go outside and I'm working on something. I get a sliver. I get an infection where that sliver went into. He had a dirty knife cut open his freaking neck. And then what, like a pen? A pen that was in his pocket?
On a boat where, tons of dead fish have been slaughtered on its top and gasoline poured. It's not exactly the most sanitary situation. And plus, it's Ice Cube's like pocket knife. I mean, it's not like he had like a sterile thing. He grabbed it and cut his throat open. And
that's the whole thing. They probably like actually had for the movie, like John Voight's character probably had like a flask on him that he was going to disinfect it with. But he probably drank all the booze before even that scene, so they're just go.
I think this movie needed to end right before they cut to credits with a quick flash of text across the screen. Dr. Kale did not return to the United States.
Yeah, and I'm with Nick. I like his ending where the Shirashama or whatever just ate these people. So because they might as well have. So because I don't know what they thought they were going to do. The primitives are going to take care of it. So never mind. We don't speak their language and they don't speak ours, and they have no idea why the F we just blew that shit up down the river. But okay. So well, we'll get to the ending, but yeah, the setup of this is very odd. I got a kick though out of the idea of we're playing it off as if Jennifer Lopez is a USC film grad. So she's you, Kurt. She graduates and she says she's a film person, and Ice Cube is her cameraman. That is what is funny. And Owen Wilson is the obligatory sound guy. And I don't know. I thought this little group was funny at least. I got a kick out of them because none of these people are cast in the right parts.
Yeah.
So.
No, they totally aren't, and you can just totally tell they're just like thinking they're like so modern that we're gonna have a complete like melting pot of different ethnicities here and stuff, because like you got the British guy, you got the black dude, you got the Hispanic girl, you got the white girl, you got like the surfer stoner guy, and then of course you got John Voight, who's like every character. You know?
Well, we hadn't talked about the British guy. They hire this voice talent guy, Jonathan Hyde, whom I don't know from anything else. I understand he's
Jumanji,
and
Titanic.
Okay, I knew I'd seen the face. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I knew I'd seen the face before, but he is supposed to be the voice of the thing. And like my thing about that is, when the hell is the voice guy ever taken along for the ride? Like the dude that voiceovers How It's Made or Mythbusters is never in the place where they're doing that shit. He's in a sound booth somewhere.
Oh yeah, he's clearly, I guess, supposed to be based on. I guess it's David Attenborough, the BBC documentarian. However, the actual like David Attenborough guy is actually himself like an anthropologist who is not the character Jonathan Hyde is, who's just clearly an actor who always he's carrying a case of Bordeaux whatever it was, champagne or very expensive wine, just so in one line we can throw away, oh, this is a prissy British guy who's not going to come in handy at all.
Yeah.
He's like a C-3PO kind of character. That's what he is. That's it's all he does. All he's good with is his voice. And yeah,
he's more like Jar Jar actually, and in terms of his usefulness, just the way I see him. And like the only thing he does is they have him playing golf on the end of that boat, just so they can set up later that he hits somebody in the back of the head with the golf club. And then the way he dies, you talk about acrobatics. Like he's falling off a waterfall, and the snake in like super speed catches him before he falls to the bottom and wraps him up. And I remember that in the trailer going, oh shit, that looks awesome. And then when you see it in the movie, you're like, oh shit, that is so stupid.
Yeah.
The laws of gravity don't work in this movie when it comes to the Anaconda.
No, I mean like when the thing about Jaws that made the Jaws shark work is nobody really knew anything about sharks at the time. I mean, they kind of did, but they really didn't. Like they just been able to film them, in recent years. They didn't really know what a shark would do. So the idea of one jumping on a boat and crashing it, like they had no idea that they could actually do that, nor how they would do it. It was just part of the story. Well, in the 90s, we know a hell of a lot about snakes. Turn on the National Geographic channel, and you've got like everything about them. And anacondas are pretty. I mean, they get big and they're very strong, and they can eat a horse and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? They're not fast in any remote sense of the word. They are not fast snakes. And to play them off like they're freaking Sidewinder rattlers or something is amazing to me.
I think what's even more amazing, though, is how they can move after they get done eating a freaking person.
Yeah.
Because, like, after a snake gets done eating, they are more mobile than before.
Are you talking about after he eats Owen Wilson, and then, like, they get that pan shot where he swims through the water and you see the outline of Owen Wilson in his stomach?
Yeah, like
I'm just talking about any time after it gets done eating a person. I mean, with a snake, I mean, it has a big meal. It's set for a week.
Yeah.
But this thing's like set for like 7 minutes. It's like, okay, I need more food. It's like it is kind of like the Jaws shark, but like you're saying though, we are more well aware of what their eating patterns and life is like.
Well, of course you're forgetting, Nick, that this movie has the opening crawl describing the behavior of the anaconda and the ending with, and they will regurgitate their prey in order to eat and kill again. So this shark.
So they're bulimic. That's what they're saying.
I want to know what bullshit person wrote that or where they got that from. So, because even in 1997, I was not a science major in college, but even I knew, I was like, oh, that's bullshit. So, and I thought, well, okay, you talk about heavy-handedness of like, well, I'm waiting to see who gets regurgitated. Like, and every time somebody gets eaten, I'm like, is it going to be Danny Trejo? Is it going to be Owen Wilson? Is it going to be Kari Wurr? Who's going to get regurgitated? And it ultimately is John Voight.
Yeah. So. And like you were saying, how the monkey was the moment where, your dad was like, that's it, I'm done. When I was watching this movie last night and the imprint of Owen Wilson is sticking out of the snake's stomach. Had I been watching this movie in the theater in 97, that's the moment where I stand up, I walk over to the kiosk and I say, I'd like my money back, please. I'm going to go watch Star Trek First Contact again or something else. Or do something else the rest of my day because that was
apparently the snake doesn't have any bones in him. It's like,
He's just a big tube, you know. So
well,
yeah.
you do see the inside of its mouth though later when he's swallowing John Voight.
Oh yeah.
They thought they were so clever with that shot. Like, what if we do a scene where he's eating a guy and we see him from inside the throat?
That'll be like freaky, man.
Best thing ever, man. Greatest shot ever. It's gonna be Oscar worthy.
High five, man. Fuck Top Gun. We're beating that shit now. I'm sure that's what these guys were thinking. Or they were going, how big's that check again? They're really going to pay us for this? Oh, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, they said that until craft services showed up, and it sure looked like Ice Cube ate most of it.
well, we'll get to Cube.
They shouldn't call him Ice Cube in this movie, man. They should call him like Ice Cream Cake or something.
It was definitely in his rounder phase. I will say that. This is around the time of like Higher Learning and some of the other things he was doing.
Well, I think maybe what happened after this movie is like he lost a lot of weight, and I think what happened is like J-Lo he pulled an anaconda and like he must have regurgitated his fat and J-Lo put it in her ass.
Well, I don't know that that the snake could actually have swallowed her because you get a couple good shots of it in here, and I was like, see, that's nothing new, people. She's had that forever. Go watch The Cell sometime, which is a weird fucking movie, and that made me need to make your asylum listening because I'd love to hear you try to explain what that is. But I don't think the snake could have swallowed her hips. I think it would have killed itself and it would have choked to death doing that.
See, that's what they should have done. That would have been great if it would have tried to eat her and it couldn't get around her ass.
I wanted Ice Cube because he was doing his NWA gangsta, language the whole time to actually do like the gangsta lean gunshot on the snake. He doesn't even pick up a gun. He has a knife the whole time. I'm like, this guy would not be carrying a knife. This dude would be packing a Glock. Like that's a totally wrong character moment. Again, it's the wrong guy cast in that spot. It is so.
Yeah, I should have been a Mexican.
Well, I don't know. I get why they put him there, but he's pointless until the. But I'll tell you what, he's real good with an axe.
Well, he's terrible. He missed the snake a bunch of times.
That snake takes a licking and keeps on ticking. It's the Timex snake. So, the whole setup is amazing. So Sarong is all about trying to catch one of these big anacondas. Is what's happening.
Why?
Because it's worth millions of dollars, Gary.
According to who? Who's going to pay you for an anaconda? Where are you going to put that thing? In a zoo? Oh yeah, just ate an 8-year-old. There we go. That's smart. Where are you going to? What would you do with it?
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, that is pretty thin right there. Like, because nowadays, like, you can't just donate animals to zoos. Not even in the 90s, they wouldn't let you do that shit. They're like, how did you?
See, that would have been great if he would have got away with it, and like he showed up at the end, like I got the anaconda, and they're like, I don't freaking want that thing. Oh,
yeah.
Customs just puts a halt on everything.
Yeah,
it's a big. Wah, 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 wah.
It's so weird, but that's the whole plan, right? And so he is disrupting the documentary filmmaking, which basically goes to hell the minute the anthropologist goes down with the wasp thing, right? So, and then he goes about, like, again, resetting their path. So he takes out the doctor so that he can get him to go the way he wants him to go down the river, right? And then he blows up a dam that did the Mist tribe build that to keep the snakes out?
Something like
yeah.
So why did they bring him with them though?
Well, because they rescued him off the boat. That was the first thing. His boat was the sinking thing, right? And then he just was along for the ride because he said, "Oh, I know this river," and they're like, "Oh, that would be useful." So, but
so
apparently,
going to trust it.
Apparently, it's set up though because him and Mateo and Danny Tracy,
hitchhiker who's hitchhiking on the Amazon River.
It is
sounds like a really smart idea.
It would be like if the people in the van in Texas Chainsaw Massacre wanted the hitchhiker to stay with them and go check out Grandpa's place, even after he had cut Franklin's arm up. Like, oh, you just hang out, bro. Like it would be the same basic idea. So I don't know. I really don't know why he's along for the ride. What I've always taken it as is that this is, you talk about the elaborate assassination attempt, Kurt. This is the most elaborate like ruse to get a snake I've ever seen. It's like Danny Trejo, Mateo, and Cerrone are all in on this together. And Cerrone acts like, okay, I'm gonna go pick up Trejo, and then you come and rescue our boat because our boat's a piece of crap, and you get the better boat, and we'll just hitch a ride with all these people, and more people means better bait for the snake. And then somewhere along the way, he realizes, okay, well, my boat actually did get stuck in the rain, and so they rescue him. They get there, Trejo's dead, but he and Mateo are like in cahoots the whole time. That's what I took it as, is that this is all a setup from him, which makes this the dumbest heist movie of all time.
Yeah, what you were saying about comparing this movie, you were talking about Tremors, how that movie had an attitude of winking at the camera, like everyone in that movie is like, okay, look, we know what kind of movie we're in, like Lake Placid, like Betty White's performance in Lake Placid, like that tells you, okay, look, this is not a straight horror film, and that's my biggest problem with this movie, is that Jon Voight is the only one in this, you said it, is the only one in this movie who knows what movie he's in and is acting accordingly. The problem is two things. One, I don't think Jon Voight's, his version of campy over-the-top horror acting is very good. Like he's no Nicholson in The Shining in terms of going over the top. He just comes across as a crap villain actor with a bad accent, which really killed, that just first words out of his mouth, his acting level starts at a 3 out of 10. So it just goes, down from there. And the rest of the cast really do think, and I'm convinced that no one sets out to make a movie like this thinking, oh, this is going to be a cult hit that's kind of like so bad it's good and people are going to laugh with the movie and laugh at it and so on. No, the producers of this movie, they were trying to make it the next Jaws. They were trying to make the Jaws with snakes. That's what the attempt was in this movie. And it just failed because this movie is just not fun. It's not, the jokes aren't funny. There's only one moment that is like, if the whole movie had the attitude of this moment, this might be a great film. Anyone who's seen this movie, I guarantee this is one of the one or two scenes that stands out, is when Jon Voight is engulfed by the snake. Everything about that scene of the snake, of him being engulfed by the snake, is very B movie, almost like with a tone of like something like Creep Show, that like funny kind of gory horror. And when he's vomited out, and he's literally vomited out, and he's on his knees for a second, when his eyes is gone, and he looks at Jennifer Lopez and literally winks at her. That moment is not just good. That is an outstanding moment, in my opinion. That is a great monster movie moment, and that is hilarious. And I think Jon Voight knew exactly what movie he was in when he did that. The problem is that there's none of that in the rest of the movie. It's just so straight and so on. Like Saran is like a really shitty version of Quint from Jaws, combined with this, elaborate.
Quint and Tony Montana, apparently.
Yeah.
So.
See, I was waiting for like him to actually have like a little monologue where he's going to sit around and tell everybody on the boat that 20 years ago he was on a boat and it all crashed and they were all picked off by snakes one by one. Kind of do like his whole
1,100 men
Indianapolis story.
1,100 men went in the water. Snakes took the rest. Well, he does that one thing where he's like, "Oh, snake can't eat people," and he's pointing at like that weird scar on his face. And I was like, "Well, tell us that story, man. Come on."
Well, the thing is, it didn't eat you. You just proved the point.
Yeah, it just bit your face off and gave you a really weird lisp. So, yeah, I don't. If we want to try to rewrite this and actually make it work, what you got to do is you got to have a director that can tell everybody else, you see what he's doing? All y'all got to do that. You got to act like, go watch some really bad 70s movies. Here, look, I'm going to just give you a stack of them and just go watch these things and then come back and do that, because then this will be funny and we'll have fun with it. We'll play it so fucking serious.
Yeah, but I think
everybody else in this movie plays it dead straight, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think the director was too. I can totally see that wink just being like Jon Voight at the end when they got done filming it. He's just like, "No, I'm gonna wink." No, we need to have you get regurgitated because we got the text at the beginning of the movie that's gonna explain this. It's a setup, and he's gonna go, "I'm gonna wink," and they're like, just probably fine, just let him wink. That's what he wants to do.
I bet he didn't even say anything. I bet he was like, he probably told Jennifer Lopez, "I just want you to look at me. I know it's going to be really gross for a second. Just look at me because I'm going to do something." And she was like, "Oh shit, that was weird." It is the funniest moment in the movie. It's laugh out loud. Anytime I've rewatched this, until this review, it's always been with a group of people where the purpose was to sit and make fun of it together.
Yeah.
You know, Mystery Science Theater, like you say, Nick. So, because that's the only way this can be consumed. I mean, this is not, as a horror fan and a monster movie fan, there's nothing here to hang on to. This is like how to do it wrong in every possible step of the way.
Well, the whole thing too is like, you even get like, your whole reason you're going to this movie is you want to see the anaconda eat people.
Exactly.
So you get the one guy who's stung by a bee in his throat, and then even the one girl, the good-looking girl, she gets killed by John Voight's legs.
Yeah, he snaps her neck, baby bird. Yeah,
The moment of ninja-like athleticism of this middle-aged man leaping up.
Well, this was the decade of the Thigh Master, and he was obviously using that because that's the only way he could have done that.
yeah.
Suzanne Summers was very proud at that moment.
Yeah, I hated that that's how she got taken out, too. What I love, though, the first guy that gets killed, the Mateo guy, like, when the snakes got him, it's not enough that it's squeezing the life out of him. It's got to reach up and break his neck with its mouth. Like, it would know how to do that. It's like, oh, yeah, these you got to break their necks.
Well, I like, too, like, when the snake's, like, wrapping around him, like, it bites him in the shoulder and then doesn't bite him. And then again, it's like, why did it bite him in the shoulder? It's not a poisonous snake.
Yeah,
it's going to crush you.
Yeah,
and then after it's crushed, it's going to consume you.
Yeah, I want to lay in here on some of my National Geographic knowledge real quick. When anaconda bite you, they don't let go. They bite so they can start wrapping around you, and they have like recurved teeth. So it's like getting stabbed with, curved steak knives. It ain't coming out. And that's why they bite you. They're not poisoning you. They're just holding on to you. But this one's like, it like lets go to get a better grip, and then it breaks his neck, which is really weird. And then later on, when it's, it kills the panther. Remember the animatronic panther that gets killed later on when Gary and Denise are, fucking in the jungle, which is, again, great sanitation there, guys. But they're getting it on, and the panther gets killed, and it pops the panther's eyeball out. I was like, well, that was supposed to be scary, I guess, but it's really bad. So, I mean, again, this is how you.
What girl is going to be down with that, doing that in the jungle?
And look,
They didn't even bring a blanket. They didn't bring a blanket.
Yeah, wait a minute. And she initiates it. Can I just be Peter Griffin for a minute? Here, look, we all know that no woman wants to have sex with a man at any time, anywhere, especially in a jungle. And to titillate us with any other thoughts is just bogus. So, I mean, this is just ridiculous. So.
Yeah, someone needed to say, can we get a tarp or something first while we're out here amongst this? Like, literally, like, you can't take a breath without getting some kind of disease when you're on the Amazon. Like, everyone who set foot in that water, they're going to need a trip to the hospital once they get back to the mainland, because it's, as they point out several times, like, you can't even go into the water without something, without some kind of bacteria crawling into you through your urethra, which is such a clunky line of dialogue, as there are many in this movie. They just flat out say things like that. The screenplay written by the genius writers of Top Gun. There are some lines in here that are, man, they are just all-time clunkers. Owen Wilson trying to convince them to go along with Saran. They're saying, but the snake's going out there, and he yells at, hey, look, you don't know shit about the shit we're in.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Hey, you know what? I actually will say this. Owen Wilson gives the same performance he's given for the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I was watching him in this. It's like he's literally not much different than his great performance in Midnight in Paris. He's playing the exact same guy that he plays in this and in any Wes Anderson movie.
It could have just been the guy in Wedding Crashers again, too. I mean, that's really all he is. It's bad. Yeah, the lines.
I tell you, this movie would have been much better, though, if it would have been like Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller and all those guys, Like, you could have, like, Ben Stiller playing the Cerrone guy.
Yeah.
He's playing the John Voight. That would be good. That would actually be really funny if he was doing, like, kind of like the whole Tropic Thunder.
Oh, no. Then it would have needed to be Downey Jr. doing the Cerrone thing, and that would have been genius. So, no, you know who could have done it? Val Kilmer. That would have been awesome. So, because I think he would have known what he was in. So.
Yeah. Oh, the thing is, was he fat at this time or no?
I know this was pretty fat. This was pretty fat Val. So,
This was Batman era. Val Kilmer. So
So which explains why he wasn't in it. So.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, no, they could have had, again, if they could have just had someone, and I'm going to lay a lot of it on the director because I've never seen anything else he's ever done. And I understand he's worked quite extensively mostly in production and things like that, but he's directed a few things. But if it had somebody that could have conveyed to this group what the point was, that'd have been something. But it goes all over the place. Like, it wants to be campy, but then it tries to be really serious too. And it even gives the British guy like a moment of redemption. Like, we're supposed to hate him because he's there for the body count, obviously. Yeah. But in the end, we're supposed to feel bad that he should be able to get away, but then that snake does shit that snakes can't do. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the director has one more of the people in this movie that are like genuinely talented people, like the actors and the director of photography. Louis Losa, definitely we're not saying his name right, but he made a little movie called Sniper in 1993 with Tom Berenger and the legend that is Billy Zane.
Billy Zane.
And Sniper is not a bad movie really at all. It's actually it's not a great movie, but it's a
good action.
It's a decent movie about the jungle and about a sniper. About a pair of snipers, and it's not a bad movie. And it's just like Tom Berenger in that movie probably has a better tone about him as the sort of grizzled veteran of the jungle, and he would have been probably better as the Saran character, and so on. Like, that's the thing, because Jon Voight, he's playing it's the contrast. He's playing it campy while they're playing it straight. If he was playing it straight, like 100% like straight, like where you maybe like this guy, maybe it would have been better, but it's just there's so much conflicting tones in this movie. Like you got the character of Owen Wilson, and then you got like the moment opening the movie where Danny Trejo, to say so as to not even face the snake, he shoots himself in the head, which is for some reason that just made me think that is a very 90s horror moment, because we can't afford to show you the snake.
He shoots himself after the snake uses his entire force of its head to knock the nails right out of the boards. Go about 6 feet up in the air.
I was right out of like Sasquatch and like the end of Jaws and all that shit. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, why not shoot the snake? At least I'd get a couple rounds in it before I decided that one of those was going to be for me. I mean, I'd at least give it a shot. I know you just got a 32, but come on.
Right, and this is definitely a point to bring up some of the bizarre filmmaking aspects in this movie. One of them is Danny Trejo. Like, watch the movie again. He doesn't really say anything per se, but listen to the voice that comes out of him in the sound design. It is clearly redubbed, because anyone who's seen Danny Trejo in any number of things, Machete, Breaking Bad, Sons of Anarchy, or whatever, he has a very distinct, grizzled, voice, and he's actually a terrific character actor. And they replaced him with this very high-pitched kind of voice, and it's very bizarre to hear that voice come out of Danny Trejo.
That's not the most bizarre voice. The most bizarre voice is the fact that the snake has a voice, and that it's done by veteran voice actor Frank Welker. Yeah. They got to do the voice of the snake, all like has this breathing and all this crap. I'm like, that's one of the things like people like to rip on the Jaws movies for, that the shark roars and stuff, and especially the later films. But why you needed the guy that is, also the voice of, Transformers and lots of other things to provide a voice for the snake, I'll never understand.
Well, it would be awesome if he actually had the Megatron voice from the cartoon.
Yeah, that'd be. So he's also Fred and Scooby Doo. That would even be better. So maybe he could have done Jabberjaw too while he was at it. But yeah, no, this is awful. I'm surprised the snake didn't say words. Like especially when it's killing Saran, because it seems to like take joy in killing him. Because it's squeezing him a little extra, then pops his jaw out of place, and squeezes him a little extra, then another look at him, and then we get that great inside the snake shot like you were talking about, Nick, where we eat Jon Voight. So, I know what I always wanted to see. So.
Oh yeah, and this is an all-time great whatever you want to call it, movie flub, continuity error, whatever it is. It first came up, I never heard about it until I was listening to Kevin Smith podcast, Hollywood Babylon, and they had this segment, Shit That Should Not Be, where they just talk about movie mistakes, like the stormtrooper hitting his head on the door in Star Wars, and they talk about Anaconda. There's a shot, anyone who wants to look it up, go to 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 30 seconds. You will see there's a boat approaching the waterfall, and 5 minutes later, we're supposed to be leaving the waterfall, but I guess they never filmed the shot of the boat leaving the waterfall. So they just took the shot of the boat coming into the waterfall and played it in reverse. And you can they didn't do a good job of it. The waterfall is literally going up. It is pouring up. And it's not just a quick flash. It's like a solid, 3 seconds of a waterfall reversing gravity, and that is an all-time horrible moment. That should have been a shoo-in for the Razzie Award for worst director right there with that moment, because I don't know how you let that slide for $45 million. Film everything you need. It's called coverage.
Yeah, you figured the boat would have to leave the waterfall at some point, so why not just leave the camera there?
Yeah, I don't know. Can I give my multiple snake theory real quick here? I just want to throw this out there. So
yeah, Kurt, you're dead wrong. It's multiple snakes.
Okay, so J-Lo and Ice Cube get into a fight with what I consider to be the main snake of the film, but it's like the green and yellow one or whatever. But anyway, it pops its head up, straight up Jaws style, and gets Ice Cube, and then J-Lo gets a bolt action Remington rifle and fires it multiple times, having never pulled the trigger nor operated the bolt, which is great. And she shoots that snake at least 6 times. All right. And it drops dead in the water. Then they go inside the abandoned factory, whatever that is, where the gas is and Sarong meets them and catches the other snake. And that other snake is the one that kills Sarong, chases them, and that they blow up in the big standpipe that then crashes down, that then Ice Cube axes to death at the end of the movie. That's what I think it's there's at least 2 of these things. And I expected the third one to pop up in the last reel and, kill everybody along with the hidden tribe of the mist. So that's my multiple snake theory. I think there are multiple snakes. Nick, you agree with me?
Oh, definitely. The snakes look different too. I mean, the one in the end is kind of red, has a little red trim to it, and it's bigger too. I mean, from everything you're kind of seeing, the snake's a lot bigger than the one in the beginning of the movie.
So it's like Jaws 3. You got the baby and then the mom, right?
Exactly. And then you got J-Lo's ass. That's the biggest one.
Well, of course, the snake is ever growing and shedding its skin as it gets larger and larger. So maybe it is the same. So that's my defense of it being the same snake. Or
what happened
whatever.
to the bullet hole in the head, Kurt?
At the multiple 36 rounds in the head. I'm just going to say, it's a graphic shot of the bloody snake head. It looks like something, you know what it looked like? If you guys have ever seen Conan the Barbarian, when Conan has to kill the big pet snake that James Earl Jones has, it looks exactly like that snake, and about it's bloody too. And I thought, well, there's got to be different snakes because they shot it to pieces. So, and how this was PG-13, I'll never understand. By the way, like the level of violence in this film, like in the 90s, especially, the MPAA was always against violent films. I don't know how they got away with that.
Yeah, this is pretty bloody. Literally, the tracheotomy scene alone should have got them an R rating. It's so, and literally the further damage of when John Voight sticks his thumb into Eric Stoltz's neck and blood's gushing out. It's like that's like.
How do you get over that, knowing that John Voight fingered you on film?
And the snake also ate someone and spit it back up. Let's not let that go by. Man, maybe they didn't watch it. Maybe they fell asleep. So I don't know.
It didn't want to swallow John Voight. It spit him out.
The guy, he was too salty. So
we saw what happened last time. You created Jennifer, or you created Angelina Jolie. It's not happening again.
No.
And of course, what I love is the movie monster logic of this is a snake that that takes pleasure, has the knowledge and the mental ability to take pleasure in devouring John Voight, but doesn't have the knowledge or intuition at all to, when it's on fire, to simply dunk itself into the water a brief moment. Instead, a snake is using a lot of exerting itself a lot to stay above the water while it's on fire and burns up to the point where it then eventually just passes out and sinks into the water. But it really struck me as a very stupid snake.
Well, it's just like Jaws 2, where it bites the electrical cord and just hangs on and turns into a fried shark.
No, this is just like the what's the animal cruise at Disney World? The Jungle Cruise. This is what it's like, the way like the snakes are acting, like especially when the one got shot, how it just like kind of slowly goes down. You can just tell it's got like some hydraulics are just kind of slowly bringing it down. You could probably just see like if you actually probably in the movie you probably pause, you could probably still see like the top of the head just kind of a little bit above the water.
Yeah,
it's where it's set down. And same with the snake at the end, like you just how fake and bad it looks. I mean, people like to rip on Jaws about how, stupid the shark looks, and shit, man, that's like, freaking Dawn of the Planet of the Apes in comparison.
Oh yeah, like I said, as a monster, as a creature of a design, it's just terrible. I mean, like the shark in Jaws, like people do knock it, but I still watch that movie because of the way Spielberg shoots it and the way the characters react, the way it's filmed. I buy it all the way. I find the shark is just genuinely frightening to me. And like I was thinking about this, the movie Cabin in the Woods. There's a snake that appears. It's in the movie for about 12 seconds. The 12 seconds of that giant snake has more impact, and it's scarier, and there's more character and feeling in that snake than the entirety of the Anaconda in this movie. It's just a terrible design. I mean, I don't know whether it would ever have been able to be make this a good creature effect. The transition between CG and the puppet, it's that bad 90s CG. In a year of a movie like Titanic, which has some pretty decent CG involved, and then to watch this, it's just $45 million for some of the worst effects. Just, man. But money well spent, apparently.
Well, my question is that they could have totally made this like a really funny B movie, and I think the direction they should have went with this is when they're trying to find these like Native American, this hidden tribe. The tribe should have like sicked these anacondas at them. Like, it should have been like like they were like some type of witch doctor who like put a curse on the crew for like disrupting them, or maybe like the crew accidentally kills like a child in that village or something like that, and they put like this curse on them, and these anacondas are going after them the entire time. And then of course you end the movie with them killing the anaconda, but there's more coming at them at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that. That's how they should have totally went with this movie.
Yeah, make it a good monster picture and leave us hanging like those of the 50s and 60s would do. I'm with you. Yeah, let's make this is campy shit anyway. Let's make it that way. And you know what that means? Let's not have any CGI. Let's just use the bad animatronic snake, because then it's fun. And then it's funny because then it doesn't take itself seriously. But these people actually thought they were making a for real horror movie, and that's the funny part of this to me. Is that
I think they should have done with a giant sock puppet. How awesome would that have been? Like like J-Lo's in the boat and the thing breaks through the glass, and it's just like someone's opening up their hand like in a sock
with the googly eyes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that would have been.
That would have been perfect. I demand a fan reshoot with that as the Anaconda. I think it would be great. All right, well, guys, I think we're definitely beyond the point of the podcast where it's time to give final thoughts, recommendations, and popcorn ratings. So what are yours for Anaconda? Kurt?
Well, in case it's not clear, I'm not a fan of this movie. I'm not a horror guy. I'm not into cheap crap. I don't enjoy bad movies. And this is it's a cheap crap B movie, and those can be good. Those can be great. I mean, look at Evil Dead 2. That movie cost $50 and it's amazing. But Anaconda, I didn't have any fun with it. I just thought it sucked. I think either that year or the next year, Deep Rising came out, and I think that I'd say is a fun aquatic B movie. That was stupid as hell, but I thought it was very fun. Anaconda, sure. This just sucks. And Roger Ebert, he gave this thing 3.5 stars out of 4. And he also just going back, he gave Blue Velvet and Clockwork Orange 2 stars. So I want whatever he was on. So Anaconda, it gets a small popcorn for me, like a couple kernels sitting at the bottom of the bag for that moment when John Voight winks. But that's about it.
All right, Nick.
This movie is a large popcorn for me. It's
what?
Yes.
What about the last 55 minutes says this is a large popcorn?
It is a large popcorn, though, and it's exactly for those reasons. Because, if you listen to the opening of the cast, it's so good, it's so bad, it's so good, it's so bad that, you can go back and forth the entire time. Okay, well, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the movie, okay? Giant ass, giant snake, and John Voight.
And Eric Stoltz, don't forget that.
Oh, no one likes Eric Stoltz. Even Eric Stoltz's mom doesn't like Eric Stoltz.
He jumps on a bug and they throw him to the side just like Robert Zemeckis did.
Yeah, well, it was less shaky of a performance than Michael J. Fox would have gave, but
oh God, no, we're all going to hell for that.
Wow. But back to my point though, it's a fun, it's one of these movies that you're gonna put on like Saturday when you're vacuuming. And like halfway through, like you're gonna start pretending that the vacuum hose is actually a snake, and you're gonna start fighting with it, just like like Ice Cube was doing. So
It's like
what other
Mr.
movie can you do
Mom.
that? It is. What other movie can you do that with? You know what I mean? It's like it's totally an awesome movie in that regard. I mean, this isn't a movie that you're gonna sit down and take seriously, but if you want a movie that you can wrestle with the vacuum cleaner with, Anaconda is a pretty good choice.
When I was in college, I was in a rock and roll band, and I wrote a song called Electrolux because it was about a relationship that sucked. And that's the same thing I can say about this movie. The only thing it's got in common with a vacuum cleaner is it completely sucks. Now, there's about 30 minutes of it that's really fun, and I will say that, but this goes on way too long for me to give it any kind of a pass at all beyond small popcorn. It's like, I'll tell you what kind of small popcorn this is. It's the kind of small popcorn you get at like the ball game, It's instead of being really buttery, it's uber salty, and you're like, that's really good. And if you would just leave it to that one bag, you'd be okay. But no, you go back for a second one, and then you're like, oh, this is actually really awful, and your cholesterol hates you for it. And that's this movie. My brain turns on me because of how dumb this is. Folks, thanks for joining us on this latest episode of Film Strip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. That's where you'll find links to all the feeds where you can find the show: Google, Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're out there. Please subscribe and leave us a positive review and share the show on your social media. We'd appreciate it. You can also follow the show's social media at FilmStripPod on Twitter and Instagram, and Filmstrip Podcast on Facebook. We appreciate the support. Until next time, for Nick and Kurt, I'm Jay. Thank you for listening to Filmstrip.
Thank you for listening to Filmstrip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Filmstrip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.